We're here with Taylor Martin, the Principal Learning Scientist at OReilly Publishing. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And we're glad to have you here. DataDay 2016. How has DataDay Texas 2016 been so far?
It has been terrific. We just have so many good talks. It's just hard to decide what to go to at any given time, you know?
Yeah. And when it comes to OReilly, I mean, these are your people here. You know,
these are our core people. Yes.
Yeah. So what? Tell me a bit more about learning scientist and what that, how that applies in regards to OReilly.
Yeah, so basically what I really see myself doing is kind of essentially engineering learning experiences. So we have an iterative model of designing learning experiences using data to feedback and improve them. Mm-hmm. And really what we're thinking around, why did OReilly hire a learning scientist? Well, we have a new learning team that Paco Nathan is heading, and we are really looking at how we make the whole OReilly experience more personalized, more, recommender type system for what people really need.
Yeah.
And that's really thinking of OReilly as a learning company, because that's what we are. We've been the folks providing foundational materials for so much of the stuff that all the great folks here are talking about, right, for a long time.
Yeah.
And really integrating, the conferences with the Safari materials and the OReilly materials and that whole pipeline. So
nice.
That's kind of what we're thinking about now.
Yeah, and it's tough in this day and age, right? It used to be that OReilly could write a book about something like, say, C# or C++,
right.
And it would hit this huge audience. And now things seem to be so fragmented,
Mm-hmm.
and like even when it comes to big data, and we're talking about graphs versus NoSQL versus
right.
SQL, and there's so many small iterations, and there's so many new players, who are contributing to the big data world. I mean, it seems like you could have new training opportunities like every week.
Yeah, and a lot of what we think about is really trying to curate that content and think, okay, what's the big thing that somebody really needs? So I kind of think of it as a model of, there's newbies out here, and we want to allow them opportunities to become the core people who are here talking, right? And so what are the experiences, if you're really a newbie, what are the experiences that are going to get you kind of to that second circle of the intermediate person, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you're in that intermediate and you're like, I'm a Java programmer, I'm really good at it, but you know what, for my job, to be able to level up in my job, I really need to learn more about big data programming, or I need to learn more about Python, or whatever it is, right? So really allowing people to figure out those pathways for themselves, where they need to go, and how they can get there.
I get it. So, are you talking about maybe a more succinct means of getting the information across? Because back in the days when I was learning about anything tech related, I ended up buying the Bible, of C++ Bible.
Right.
And there's this huge thing, and it's and you feel like I'm going to learn so much, and then you get only so far in there, and you're like, oh, I really want to learn something else,
Well, and also that Bible, while we all have them. I mean, my shelves are covered in them, have been for years. I've only been at OReilly for 2 weeks, but I've got more animal books on my shelves than you can possibly believe, right? but those are great for something you already know when you go back. That's your reference. That's your foundation, right?
Right.
But that may not be the greatest thing to get you into that space when you start.
Right.
And so it's really thinking about what are the products and experiences that are going to help people start moving into different and new spaces and expand their space.
Nice. So now, and you had mentioned to me earlier about working in the K12 arena in regards to like math and science education. Do you think we might see OReilly producing the same sort of learning that you're talking about for maybe middle school, or?
It's a good question. We're talking about it a lot. We're thinking about it, but it's a hard space for a lot of reasons. So I had a report, I wrote a report for OReilly before I started there called Educating Data that really gets into some of the challenges about some of the great things happening in education with data and some of the challenges. The main one being around data privacy, right? Because if you're building a really solid system, it needs to feed back with info from learners. It needs to become a good recommender system. We've got to feed it with data, right?
Right.
So if we're going to build that kind of system, and that's very hard in the K12 space. I don't know how much people know about it, but last year at least 35 of the 50 states passed data laws that are about data privacy that a lot of the provisions, good intentions, right? They're trying to protect kids. It's good intentions, but a lot of the provisions are either already covered in federal law or just unfeasible. They would make it so that schools couldn't actually share data with their central administrations, which would all the accountability systems, even just saying, okay, how's our state doing, it would block that kind of thing. So there's a lot of confusion out there around that space, and so it's something anybody moving into K12 space has to think hard about.
Yeah, that's tough.
But I hope that what we're doing is coming up with a model that anybody who is working in K12 space could start to think about using. And certainly the resources are accessible for, I would say high school level. Certainly we're not aiming at a younger level than that. But I would think the resources would be accessible there.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. My daughter's a big computer nerd. She's like, I want to learn how to program in Ruby, and the first thing I thought of was OReilly, and I was like, she's probably old enough for that. Yeah.
Well, and so one of the things we've started is called learning paths, and so it's sort of that kind of thing. You say, I'm this person. What's my goal? I want to learn to program in Ruby. So you can go to the OReilly page or the Safari page now too, and say, okay, here's this learning path for Ruby, or here's this learning path for Python for data.
Right.
Learning path, and it'll be 4 or 5 smaller video tutorial type courses with exercises and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then integrated into that learning path idea will become a lot more things like our online courses and even shorter things called landers, which are just real quick splash kind of screenshot things.
Yeah.
Screencast things.
And well, OReilly definitely has the education game locked down. When it comes to everything that we're picking up here, and we're going to be talking to a lot of the authors. There's going to be some book signings here.
Yeah.
It's great to have OReilly as one of the key sponsors here at DataDay Texas.
Well, I think it's just perfect because if you think about our community, and this is the core, right? What are we? What do we all do? We're all learners. We all love learning new stuff. We all love finding out about new stuff. If you're going to work in this space, you're going to learn how many languages over the course of your life, just because your job is changing all the time.
Right.
So being in the middle of that change and in the middle of helping people make those changes, it's really fun. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think it just exponentially speeds up the learning process. Like with OReilly coming out with all these new books, there's always great updates, and then OReilly sponsoring an event like this where your people are all just coming together and sharing all that knowledge. It's an exciting place to be.
It is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you coming to talk to us, and look forward to maybe seeing you at some of the book signings and stuff.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Cheers.